I think he's a very smart trainer, and he gets it. He's passionate, but he just, I think some people take advantage of his weakness of being a nice guy, and I think that's what's happened right now. You know,
well, one thing that Don will be able to say is that my reputation has been enhanced because he rebuilt Daniel. A lot of people had lots of questions about Daniel. He did bring him into a position where he did annihilate Anthony Joshua.
Maybe he needs that fresh start again. He needs someone new in his ear, someone to push him to get that confidence back as well.
Why?
That's why anything. So this Daniel's an athlete. He's a 27-year-old man. If he feels he needs a change, then that's what he's done.
Daniel Dubois sacks Don Charles, and honestly, this move screams desperation rather than strategy. After all the effort Don invested, Dubois now wants a fresh start with Tony Sims. But this decision could make or break his career. One wrong step, and the pressure will only double from here.
I'd like to thank Don Charles for the hard work and effort he's put into me over the last 8 years.
Johnny Nelson wastes no time tearing into Dubois and his father, calling out their constant interference. According to him, Don Charles never had full control because Daniel's dad was steering the ship. If Dubois really wants a fresh start, he needs a coach strong enough to shut down the family drama once and for all.
I don't think Don was a captain of that ship. I think the captain of the ship was the dad. So now, whoever Daniel goes to, it needs to be a strong coach to say, Dad, out. I'm training you. You hired me to train your son. That's my job. You don't come and mess up my work. I don't think Don was strong enough or in a position enough to say that.
Dominic Ingle doesn't hold back here, throwing shade straight at Dubois. He suggests fighters like Daniel happily take everything from their trainers, but the moment things fall apart, they shift blame and walk away. After sacking Don Charles, Dubois now faces huge pressure because excuses won't save him this time.
Choose you. Fighters choose you. Then they use you to get where they need to be. Then they accuse you when everything goes wrong. And when they've left and gone somewhere else, then they start to abuse you by doing interviews slagging you off.
Even Ben Davison shares his thoughts on Tony Sims stepping in and what this change could mean. Ben Davison tries to stay neutral, but even here, the pressure on Dubois is obvious. Tony Sims may bring experience from working with AJ and other heavyweights, but no trainer can fix a fighter's mentality overnight. If Daniel and his dad keep interfering, even Sims's game plan could collapse before it starts.
Tony will have his own ideas, you know, I'm not sure. But I'm sure, you know, he'll have some ideas of what he'd like to implement with Daniel. He's an experienced guy, worked with heavyweights before, a lot of time with AJ and that.
Dominic Ingle goes straight for Dubois and his father here, calling out the excuses that seem to follow every defeat. According to him, Daniel's camp is spinning the narrative that Don Charles was the problem, painting him as the reason behind the Usyk loss. But Ingle sees through it. He warns that even if Dubois switches trainers again, the same cycle will repeat unless Daniel takes responsibility. This is a brutal reality check for Team Dubois. Sacking Don Charles might have bought Daniel some short-term relief, but it won't shield him from future criticism. If Tony Sims can't break the influence of Daniel's father, history could come crashing down again. Dubois can't afford to keep blaming everyone else when the pressure's on. The spotlight is firmly on his mentality now.
You know, once you start beating guys of that level, you're there or thereabouts for the world title fights. And I think our goal this time next year would be to be boxing for a world title.
And the thing is with like British or European title fights, even if a fighter is that good, there's still belts you kind of want on the mantelpiece, right? There's still belts that you can appreciate even if they are stepping stones in quotes as such.
Yeah.
David Haye takes a slightly softer tone, but still raises an important point. Dubois keeps running from his problems instead of solving them. He admits that switching trainers after a loss is common, but there's a clear suggestion here. Maybe Daniel's issues aren't about who's in his corner, but what's going on inside his head. If Dubois truly lost faith in Don Charles, that's understandable, but hiring Tony Sims won't magically erase the deeper flaws we've seen in high-pressure moments. The question remains, can Daniel rebuild his confidence? Or will the ghosts of his past performances follow him no matter who's training him? Without genuine self-belief, even the best game plans fail. Haye hopes for a turnaround, but the doubts about Dubois' mental toughness linger louder than ever.
Yeah, you know, a lot of fighters after they have a loss, want to sort of jump to a different coach. Maybe thinks things have got stale. Maybe he wants to change, and I hope he finds what he's looking for. Obviously, Don wasn't. He lost confidence in what he was bringing to the table. So hopefully, whoever he works with, he gets that additional confidence because he's got a great ability.
Sam Jones jumps in next, revealing inside details about Don Charles' exit and Daniel's fresh start. Sam Jones keeps it diplomatic, but his words don't hide the tension behind the scenes. He praises Don Charles for doing a fantastic job, yet Daniel's decision to part ways speaks volumes about where his head's at. Dubois wants a reset, but the reality is this: every trainer Daniel brings in comes under the shadow of his father's control and his history of cracking under pressure. Leaving Don Charles might sound like a clean break, but unless Dubois changes how he approaches training and fights, the same problems will resurface. The boxing world is watching closely. Tony Sims is now under immense pressure to succeed where others failed. If Daniel doesn't deliver this time, there'll be nowhere left to hide and no excuses left to make.
Daniel's just put out a statement out in regards to his situation with Don Charles. Don Charles has done a fantastic job for Daniel, but Daniel's decided that he needed a change, and that
Sam Jones tries to defend Daniel's camp, but admits the elephant in the room, his father's overpowering influence. Calling him a passionate man is putting it mildly. Many insiders believe Daniel's dad plays too big a role in training decisions, and Johnny Nelson already hinted at how disruptive that can be. Jones insists he'll focus on getting Daniel the right fights and protecting his career, but his words subtly reveal the challenge. Tony Sims now faces managing not just Dubois, but also the family dynamics that have caused friction before. If Daniel truly wants to become a two-time world champion, he needs a stable environment where the trainer leads, not the parents. Otherwise, no matter how talented Sims is, the same cracks that showed under Don Charles could reopen very quickly.
Yeah, match him in the best fights, look after him, look after his best interests. And that's what I'll continue to do with Daniel. But like I say, look, people speak a lot about his father. His dad's a passionate man.
Yep.
And that won't change. But I'm being brought in for a reason. All I'll say is just everybody just relax.
Amir Khan takes a supportive stance here, but even his words hint at the cracks within Team Dubois. He acknowledges that sometimes fighters need a fresh start and a different voice to reignite their belief, but the underlying issue remains. Daniel's confidence has been shattered, and switching trainers is just a temporary fix unless he rebuilds his mental toughness. Khan highlights how a new coach can bring energy and self-belief, yet in Dubois' case, the challenge isn't just about tactics, it's about controlling outside influences. With his father's constant involvement and growing pressure from fans, even a seasoned trainer like Tony Sims faces an uphill battle. If Dubois fails to respond positively, this change will only expose deeper issues about his mentality. Confidence isn't given by a coach, it's earned inside the ring under fire, and right now, the jury's still out on whether Daniel truly has that fire left.
Maybe there was something that I wasn't happy with in that camp. And as a fighter, some fighters have to do that. Maybe he needs that fresh start again. He needs someone new in his ear. Someone to push him to get that confidence back as well. When you hear it from a different trainer and you hear that you're doing great and you're a great fighter and you're back on top again, that confidence makes a big difference.
Duke McKenzie doesn't sugarcoat it. Dumping Don Charles, the man who knows Dubois inside out, could prove disastrous. Don understood Daniel's strengths, weaknesses, and what buttons to push to get the best out of him. Replacing a trainer like that isn't just about changing tactics. It risks tearing apart the chemistry built over years. McKenzie's frustration is clear because in his view, Dubois' camp has panicked instead of staying patient. The timing is especially questionable. After a tough loss, the smarter move might have been to work on mentality and resilience rather than hit the reset button entirely. Now, Tony Sims steps in without that deep personal knowledge of Daniel's psyche, and the margin for error is razor thin. If Dubois fails under Sims, critics will point straight back to this decision as the moment his career derailed. In boxing, loyalty matters, and Dubois may have sacrificed his biggest asset.
He knows the kid inside out.
Yeah.
He knows how he works. He knows all the mechanics behind that kid and how to motivate and get the best out of him. We've seen it. And to get rid of him now at this point, I think it's a bad move.
I
Looks a bit of
personally,
a
I agree with you.
scapegoat. I think
Well, I'm
anyone
gonna
that's
ask you
going to
that,
work with Dubois, obviously no secret. I don't know his dad. I've never met his dad, but it's obviously no secret that his dad is a heavily influential person in the camp. And
Paul Smith delivers perhaps the harshest assessment yet, questioning Daniel Dubois' heart when things get tough. According to Smith, Dubois has repeatedly failed to show that dogged mentality required to survive deep waters in big fights. While he praises Daniel's effort against Kargovic, he highlights glaring red flags in the Joyce and Usyk fights, suggesting Dubois mentally checks out when pressure mounts. This is damning because no trainer, not even Tony Sims, can teach raw grit. It's either in you or it's not. Sacking Don Charles won't magically fix this fundamental issue. If Dubois wants to silence critics, he must prove he can push through punishment and dig deep when the odds are stacked against him. Otherwise, the narrative around his career will remain the same. Plenty of talent, but lacking that unshakable warrior spirit required at the elite level. Fans are watching closely. This is make or break territory now.
I think it's beyond saving with him. I think whenever the fight gets hard, we've seen it proven more than once now. He doesn't seem to have that fortitude, that grit, that desire, that mentality of you're not beating me, I'm going to stick in this, I'm going to outlast you, and that's what.
What do you mean by
is
that?
needed.
I mean, he dug in deep against Hrgovic, didn't he?
He dug in deep against Hrgovic, but then we saw it in the Joyce fight. It wasn't there. We saw it in the first Usyk fight. I felt he could have got up. In the last fight, I felt he could have got up. As soon as the referee got to 10, he gets up.
Gareth A. Davies comes to Don Charles' defense, insisting the split was unnecessary and unfair. He argues that Don wasn't the problem against Usyk. Daniel was simply outclassed by a masterful champion. This perspective flips the narrative entirely. Instead of blaming Charles, Dubois must confront the reality that he failed to execute on fight night. Davies highlights what many insiders believe. Don had the right game plan, but Daniel didn't rise to the occasion. Now with Tony Sims stepping in, the pressure has shifted squarely onto Dubois. If his performance doesn't improve, this move will look like another excuse rather than a solution. And make no mistake, fans won't accept blame the trainer anymore. Sims inherits a talented but fragile fighter, and the world will be watching closely to see if Dubois can prove he's more than just hype. For Daniel, this next chapter decides his entire legacy.
Don Charles, you know, it's a shame that he's got the chop. I thought he was very good for Daniel Dubois. He didn't do anything wrong in that contest with Oleksandr Usyk. It was Dubois' performance. I thought, again, it was down to Usyk's brilliance on the night.
Daniel Dubois' decision to sack Don Charles and bring in Tony Sims has split the boxing world in two. Some believe this is a bold reset, while others see it as yet another excuse after failing on the big stage. With Sims now in charge, the pressure is sky high. This isn't just about changing tactics, it's about proving Daniel has the mentality to dig deep when it matters most. Meanwhile, Don Charles supporters insist he was never the problem. Usyk's brilliance exposed Dubois' flaws, not poor coaching. Now there are no more lifelines left. If Dubois delivers, he silences the critics and rebuilds his reputation. But if he crumbles again, this split will haunt him forever. Whose side are you on? Are you backing Don Charles and his supporters? Or do you believe Tony Sims can unlock Dubois' true potential? Drop your thoughts below, the debate is on.